Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Harleen, and I'm from Friends of Bukit, Kiara. And today, I will take you on a journey through the magical mysteries of Bukit Kiara. Did you know that less than 1 kilometer from Wan Utama, which happens to be one of the world's largest malls, we have fireflies? And not just one or two or even five species, we have 9 species of fireflies that have been discovered so far. But before we can look at the fireflies, before we can dive into the world of the fireflies, we first have to look at their home, Bukit Kiara. Situated in Kuala Lumpur, it used to be a rubber estate until 1976, when the federal government bought the land and put it for a purpose of public use. So the parts that are in the white dotted line, that is what was Bukit Kiara. It was called Bukit Kiara Estate. So it was the size of 1,500 acres. When the government acquired the land, 200 acres was set aside to be used as public institutional land, and the remainder, which was 130 acres, a master plan was drawn up in 1982. It was called the Taman Kiara Master Plan. And for this master plan, the northern portion of this land would be a 650-acre arboretum, which would merge into a park-like national mausoleum. And to the south of the land, there would be an international standard public golf course. However, in 1987, this master plan idea was not realized, as a major portion of the land, a significant portion of this land, which was meant for public use, fell into private hands. So this remainder of land that did not fall into private hands is what we now know as Bukit Kiara, which spans 400 acres. In 2007, the federal cabinet agreed to preserve this remainder land to be a large-scale public park. So the parts that are in green and red is this 400 acres. In 2010, they appointed Jabatan Landscape Negara, our National Landscape Department, to be the administrator of this park. However, gazettement of this park did not happen until 2020, and that too, it was only partial gazettement. So the parts that are in green, 274 acres was partially gazetted. Another 126 acres in red is to be gazetted in 2027. So once this land is fully gazetted, it is a gazetted federal park. Federal park might be a new term. You may not see it in any other parks in Malaysia. And that's because Bukit Kiara is the first federal park in Malaysia. So when the land was left from 1976 up to now, the land had just been left to be on its own. It was a rubber estate, so rubber trees are not native to Malaysia. Rubber trees are from Brazil. They were brought in here to generate revenue. In the 1990s, FRIM, Forest Research Institute Malaysia, did some replanting. They removed some of the rubber trees, replanted some of our native species. And then in 2010, when JLN came into the role, they did a lot more replanting. So they've replanted 36,000 native trees, and that replanting is still happening to date. But on its own, this 400 acres of forest from 1976 had started to regenerate slowly, with some replanting that acted as a catalyst to speed the process. And thus, from this slow regeneration, we now have a secondary forest that is regenerated, that is teeming with biodiversity. And how do we know this? This is because we have captured what biodiversity is in Bukit Kiara. This is what we have recorded in Bukit Kiara so far. We have 9 species of fireflies, of which one of them, the Lamprigera, is known as the world's largest firefly. Not only do we have 9, we have the world's largest, and they grow up to about 12 centimeters. Their larvae can grow up to 12 centimeters, which is a big feat. In 2017 was when the fireflies were discovered. One of our members was hiking with his grandson and saw a firefly. Now, when you think of fireflies in Malaysia, you would think of heading to the mangroves, right? Kuala Selangor, or to Terengganu, or Kampung Kuantan. But fireflies in KL, That's a new thing. So this member reached out to someone from Malaysian Nature Society and brought him to see. And he confirmed that yes, there are fireflies. So when we got the news, we said, okay, let's organize a firefly walk. Let's see what else is there. What other things can we find? And on the day of this firefly walk, 300 people showed up. So that's when we realized that, okay, there's potential to do something here. We can push for protection. Maybe we can use fireflies to do that. Thus came about our citizen science project called The Magical Mysteries of Bukit Kiara. We got funding, we received funding for a year, and we had two scientists from FRIM, Dr. Nada Badruddin, and from Urban Biodiversity Initiative, Dr. Terry Goh, who helped us design an experimental procedure that is simple enough that anyone could do it. You didn't need to be a scientist to be a scientist. So with this project that we did, with the data that we collected, we managed to discover 7 species of fireflies up to 2022. In 2023, during our Earth Day celebrations in the daytime, everyone was having a good time. We had Dr. Nada from FRIM. One of our volunteers who was hanging around saw this insect flying around very slowly, and she thought, oh, it looked quite interesting, so she caught it to show Dr. Nada. And Dr. Nada confirmed that, oh, that's a firefly. In the daytime, a firefly. So that's when we realized that we have diurnal fireflies, fireflies that are active in the day. So in the world, we have 3 types of fireflies. We have congregating, which are the ones that you find in mangroves and estuaries. And then you have solitary fireflies, which are the ones that we see in Bukit Kiara. And lastly, we have diurnal fireflies, which we have now discovered in Bukit Kiara. So as we go along, we formed a collaboration with Monash University, which happens to be my alum as well. And with this collaboration, we teamed up with Dr. Wan Farida, who is a firefly specialist and taxonomist. And her students came to Bukit Kiara to do research. So from final semester students, they went on to do their honors and masters, and now we have a PhD student as well. And from these specimens that they have collected in the lab, one of the students, Jack, was going through these specimens, and he found out that this one specimen that was labeled Colofotia, found in Bukit Kiara, did not look like a Colofotia. It didn't resemble the physical characteristics. So he called Dr. Wan. Dr. Wan took a look at it, and she had to travel to look at specimens. She went to she went to London, and she came back with the conclusion after reading and researching, doing comparison and analysis. She came to discover that this firefly was Pteroptyx gombakia, which is the gomba bent-wing firefly. And here's the kicker, this firefly is a firefly that has not been seen for 100 years. The last time anyone saw this firefly was 100 years ago in the 1920s. Before this, we only had 2 specimens. One was in and one more was in London. Now we have them here in KL. And here's the other interesting part about Pteroptyx gombakia. The genus Pteroptyx is the genus that is most commonly associated with fireflies found in the mangroves and estuaries. Now that they are found in Bukit Kiara, there's a lot of unanswered questions. Are they now solitary, or are they still living together all around, but we just can't see them? So now that research is still ongoing. So now we have 9 species of fireflies. This is a little video montage to show you their light. So this light that they emit is actually an enzyme reaction in their body from a chemical called luciferase. And interestingly enough, the adults are herbivores, and the young, the larvae, they're actually carnivores. And they enjoy eating snails, which is very abundantly available in Bukit Kiara. These are our 9 species of fireflies that we have discovered so far. However, with the looming threat of potential development, we now face a little bit of a dilemma. You see, Bukit Kiara as a federal park is going to be fully gazetted federal park. However, there is no proper buffer zone around Bukit Kiara. So if you look at this map of Bukit Kiara, you will see that to the bottom of the red and to the right side, there's some forested areas, but they are all privately owned land. And to the bottom, that land belongs to KLGCC, it's KLGCC Golf Club. And to the side, it's another privately owned entity, and that land is on lease until 2064. So from our firefly data that we have collected, from our surveys where we go in to look at the fireflies, count them, put geotag, we have found that one of the trails called Magic Carpet is one of the most biodiverse in terms of firefly numbers. And if you look, you will see that it's very nearby to this neighboring land to ours. And you have parcels A and B. At parcel A, there is now a water reservoir that has been developed. And when this water reservoir was developed, we noticed a little trend starting to occur. And that was the number of fireflies suddenly started to decrease as this thing was built. And if you take a closer look, you can see that that red hotspot areas, this is a heat map, you will see that it's slowly disappearing along where this water reservoir is built. This is an indicator of what might happen if anything bigger is to come near at the borders of Bukit Kiara. You see, fireflies, they are biological indicators. Their presence and even their absence in an environment can actually tell us a lot about the health of that environment. And the fact that we have 9 species tells us that Bukit Kiara is a very healthy forest. And we need to do what we can to protect it for our future generations. It is our duty now to protect Bukit Kiara for our future generations. So to that, I leave you with a quote from Dr. Jane Goodall. She says, "Only if we understand can we care. Only if we care will we help. Only if we help will we be saved." And in Malay, we have a similar saying, "Tak kenal maka tak cinta." So when you have free time, anytime that you have free time, go for a walk, go for a hike, go to the beach, go to the mountains, go snorkeling, and just fall in love with nature. Because when we fall in love for something, we will protect it. Thank you.